times I've heard these words. I'm all for free speech, but, oh, well, the but means you're not for free speech. That's what that means. So listen, some of the rally chants, like, they wouldn't be what I would say. It wouldn't be what I would choose. I can understand why people may say, hey, I don't like that. But guess what? That is free speech. One more thing I'll say about this, and then go on to the next part of the just absolutely unhinged reaction that is happening right now, and very intentionally so, because, you know, the Israel no matter what side has, like, basically lost the debate. If you look at popular opinion, especially if you look at the Democratic Party, especially if you look at young people. So this is an attempt not only to delegitimize, but also to distract. But with regard to Columbia University itself, it is a private university. They can make whatever rules they want to make. I'm not saying they can't do it. It's a question of what they should do. And the claims about safety of Jewish students, et cetera, are really belied by the fact that there are, uncomfortably, for the people who want to smear this whole movement as anti-Semitic, there are many Jewish students who are at the core of these protests, who are organizing these protests, who are out there with signs that say Jews for Palestine. In fact, one of the groups that was blanket banned very quickly after October 7th from Columbia University was Jewish Voices for Peace. So why are you shutting down Jewish voice? How is that not anti-Semitic if we're going to play that particular game? So let me move on to some of the more unhinged reaction. Characteristically, you've got the ADL's Jonathan Greenblatt weighing in, calling for the National Guard to come in and crack down on Columbia University students. Take a listen.
Jewish students don't feel safe on campus because they are not. And we need President Shafiq to do three things. Number one, we need NYPD back on this campus or bring in the National Guard. Number two, no masks on campus. This isn't Fallujah, this is Morningside Heights. And number three, the students who behave in this way need to be suspended immediately.
So, by the way, many students have been suspended. Many students were arrested by the NYPD, and Sagar, listen, the calls for the National Guard are so deranged that I can't even wrap my head around it. They're peacefully protesting, okay? Now, you may talk about things happening off campus. That's a different story. It's a little messier. But in terms of the college campus protests, you're talking about bringing in the National Guard. What, are you inviting another Kent State?
So
it's insane.
Their allegation is the main character, absolutely. So how do we say this gentleman's name? Because he's upset. Where are we going with?
Shai Dividai.
Shai Dividai. Okay, so Shai Dividai is a Jewish Israeli professor, has been really making himself a main character on campus, filming protests, calling them terrorists, saying that they're anti-Semitic. He joined an Israeli news outlet, I-24, recently, specifically to say that the students themselves are terrorists. Not terrorists, even supporters, as many people will say, but actual terrorists themselves. Let's take a listen.
This is an important topic. This is not just about Columbia. This is every U.S. college. They have said that they are going to bring down Columbia first, and then as a domino effect, we'll have all other universities. But I want to make clear one thing before I talk about my own actions. What we're seeing now at Columbia, and I don't use this word lightly, we're not seeing ideological war. We're not seeing support for terrorism. We are seeing terrorism. Last night, we had at Columbia a protester, one of the protesters in the student mob, holding a sign calling the El Qassam Brigade, the Hamas military wing, to kill Jewish students with a arrow pointing at the Jewish students that were standing there. Right? We are seeing Hamas on campus, and this makes President Minu Shafiq a Hamas supporter. Every minute that she does not let in the NYPD, because she's not letting them in. That's why you see the NYPD outside and the terrorists inside.
Can't go? Do this to clear out stuck poop fast. On June,
be considered terrorism. In this country, the United States, that is not considered terrorism. That's actually free speech, and it does not ever cross into the realm of violence. And this is very difficult to say, you know, and remain calm, but I cannot tell you how disgusting it is to me personally to see this person who is, as far as I know, not a U.S. citizen, and if he is, I know he calls himself a Jewish Israeli, so I'm just going to say that, come to here, then try to police the speech of, and basically call in the National Guard, our military, to go after protesters who he doesn't like. Again, that's perfectly fine in your country, Israel. It is not fine over here. It doesn't cross into the line of violence. And this is part of the other problem that I have with all of this, is that the escalation of rhetoric belies reality. It's like, listen, we're not in, what is it, July of 2020. There's not widespread looting and chaos in the streets. Again, in Columbia University, a private Ivy League, which that's part of the other thing. That's the only reason this thing is getting so much attention. It's because all these media elites and all these other people live in New York City. And again, to them, this is like how
Calling students terrorists. He feels he should be, you know, have full rights to campus, but not the people who he disagrees with. So it's so incredibly selective. And just to show you also, and this to me is so outrageous. So the official government of Israel Twitter account picked up and reiterated his charge that American students at Columbia University and other places are terrorists. Put this up on the screen. This is outrageous. So he had tweeted out, this is what's happening at Columbia right now. I know it's confusing. So let me spell it out for you. A, terrorism is an ideology. B, they are openly supporting terror. C, they are terrorists. Terrorists have taken over Columbia University. The government needs to take over Columbia. Now think about that in the context of the number of right-wingers who are celebrating a government takeover, demanding a government takeover in National Guard to come in to censor students. Okay, put that aside. This is important. Repost if you agree. The government of Israel takes him up on that repost if you agree call and reiterates his terrorism is an ideology. They're openly supporting terror. They are terrorists. The government of Israel calling American students protesting on campus, exercising their First Amendment free speech rights, terrorists. It is so despicable. It is so disgusting.
Yeah, and what it again illustrates is that Israel, a nation which just the other day, President Herzog, their president, came out and said, Americans should stay out of Israeli politics. I was like, yeah, I agree. I agree with you. That's why we shouldn't pay you at all. But why don't you stay out of ours?
As they got their hand out for
that's what I mean.
More weapons, more billions.
I will take that trade any day you guys want, but then you got to stay out of our politics.
Israel has a right to defend themselves.
Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. They are our closest of allies.
Israel is being bombarded with rockets by a terrorist organization, Hamas. The Democrat Party, the radical left, they've abandoned American principles, and now they're abandoning American allies.
And it is imperative that we stand with Israel, that we show our support with Israel, that we make certain that through this, our allies know that they are our ally and friend.
This is not that complicated. Israel's being attacked by terrorists, and given the choice of standing by Israel or standing by these terrorists.
So let me be clear. There is no moral equivalency between terrorists murdering innocent civilians and a sovereign nation.
So let me stop that right there. So you need to understand the face of the modern Nazi, right? The face of the modern Nazi, right? What is a Nazi? Well, let's talk about that for a second before we get into this. What are Nazis? What does Nazi stand for? Is Nazi have anything to do with what does it have to do with? A lot of people don't know what that means. The term is actually N-A-S-I, not N-A-Z-I, right? N-A-Z-I is Nazi. It's the syntax that we use, but it's actually N-A-S-I. But then they changed the Z, right? And that's how some things work. So you have to understand the sophistication, right? Different levels of things. So Nazi was Nazi, just like it sounds, N-A-S-I. It stands for National Socialist, but they changed the S to a Z, and then it became Nazi, right, in the German. Now, just a little background to educate you on what Nazi is. Because you hear people throwing this, you're a Nazi, you're violating my freedom of speech, you're a Nazi, and they have no idea what the word means. So it stands for National Socialist, a nationalistic, right, socialist, right? Now, we've heard the term white nationalist, right? So that would be along a Nazi strain, right? And so that's where you get the nationalism in Nazi, the National Socialists. Are they socialists? Not at all. So you have to understand that. Because what is socialism? Socialism is when, let me give you an example for what they did in Venezuela, where you had private companies from America, and the same in Iran. Their companies like BP, American companies, British companies, etc., they came in and they were allowed to privatize the oil industry. So and put in oil rigs and everything. And so let's say for every $10 in oil that they pumped out in profits, they would give the country like Venezuela or Iran maybe $1. And then they would take the rest, right? So what happens is these countries, they socialized, meaning they took over and the government took over and kicked out the private agencies, and they ran the oil. They run all the oil operations. And then the oil revenue goes into the government, right? And then that goes to support the revenue from the sale of the oil all around the world, and et cetera, in the markets, goes back into the government to support the government and the people of the country. That's socialism. So are these people that you're looking at on your screen socialists? Not at all. They say they hate socialism, right? But they are Nazis. And you say, well, damn, how does that work? It's so confusing. Well, everything doesn't work the way you think it does. You have to understand it is what it is, right? So they're not socialists, but they are nationalists, you see? And then they're not even nationalists, because the people on your screen, they're swearing allegiance to a foreign country, which is what? Israel. Why? Because the Israelis are paying them. So these people are fascists, and they are what you consider what would be called a hybrid. And that's what a Nazi is. A Nazi is a term that encompasses a hybrid individual, right? And it's a very misleading term if you don't understand. These people are not socialists, but they are nationalists, you see? But they really are, a Nazi is actually a fascist, which is the opposite of a socialist. And I know that's confusing. Everything I'm saying is true. You can look it up. Now I want to give you some background before I, really get into it, right? Because I know people in America are painfully stupid, particularly the Negro in America. I know there's a lot of them in my family, right? And so they're painfully ignorant and stupid, you see. And so, so these people are fascists. What is they're actually fascist. So a Nazi is actually a fascist, but the term Nazi means National Socialist. But a Nazi is a fascist. What is a fascist? A fascist is basically, fascism is what you have in the United States. And the EU, etc., most of these places are fascist. What is a fascist? A fascist is where corporations, right, large corporations and companies control the government for the benefit of small groups of people that run the corporations and government, like the people you see on your screen. They would all be considered Nazi fascists. Why? Well, because they take money from who? Israelis who own companies and are all involved in the government. You see? That would be a fascist. For instance, they have something called lobbying, so they take money from donors. They take billions of dollars, right, from banks, all these companies who are ran by, who basically through them and the agencies run the government. You see, it's like a shadow, like a puppet. So the puppet of these people, they give them money, so-called wink-wink donations, right? And then they do the bidding of the people that give them the money, their largest campaign donations, and other favors under the, obviously under the board, right? And so that's how it was ran. And they also threaten them or whatever. And so everybody stays in line. And so you have a fascist organization, right? And they're extremists. They're fascists. Fascists by nature is an extremist. These are, they say Hamas is an extremist group, but these are the most extreme people. You see? They say ISIS is extreme, but these are the most extreme people. You see? Because they're larger than, obviously, these smaller groups. They actually run those groups. If you look at it, Hamas was funded by the Israeli government and private donors who built them up to use them. So it's all a fascist cabal, you see? And sometimes it gets out of hand. And so what you're looking at is a modern Nazi fascist. When you look at the people that on your screen, they're all the people that run your government, like Ted Cruz and the different people, Joe Biden, Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, et cetera, et cetera. And here you see them all swear allegiance to a foreign country. Now, last time I checked, that was treason. But in the modern era, it's acceptable, right? In the modern era, it's acceptable to take bribes from foreign countries, swear allegiance on TV, and then do whatever they tell you to do. Now, probably 50 or 100, maybe 100 years ago, that would have been considered treason, and you would have been arrested for that. But now, it's considered business, politics as usual. You see, in the modern era of corruption, in this wicked land that we live in, right? So, like Pac said, underhanded hits are planned in this wicked land, right? So wicked land we live in, right? And so these people, these Nazis that you see on your screen, so you have the American Nazis, that's the people you see on your screen. Then you have the Zion Nazis, the one in Israel. So the Zion Nazis have taken over. They run everything. And these people you can see, like Joe Biden and Donald Trump, the people on your screen, they all swear allegiance to the Zion Nazi who has taken over them and runs them. They are the tip of the spear, but that's biblical. Now we're getting into Bible prophecy. So we're going from politics to Bible prophecy. Why is it Bible prophecy? Revelations 2:9 and 3:9 says what? It says that these people are the synagogue of Satan, the church of Satan, the house of Satan, the leadership of Satan on earth. That would be the Zion Nazis in Israel, the false Jew. And they run the synagogue of Satan. The other part is the American Nazi who works at the behest of the Zion Nazi, the synagogue of Satan. And so they all would be considered the synagogue of Satan. Obviously, if you work for Satan, then you are a part of his church. I won't have to explain that. So then it spills over into biblical prophecy, right? Everything is connected. People say, but you're just too stupid. In a lot of cases, people are too stupid to understand the connections, right? They're intellectually lazy. It doesn't interest them, I understand. Now, but I find it fascinating, right? So you have the American Nazi, Amer Nazi, and then you have the Zion Nazi, you see, who was actually created by these groups, but just like they created Hamas and ISIS, the Zion Nazi got out of control. You see, just like they created ISIS and they created Hamas, which was funded by the Israeli government and the Americans, etc., and they got out of control. And same thing with ISIS, Al Qaeda. Osama bin Laden used to work in Afghanistan for the CIA, if you read the stories, right? And then they go off the reservation, they get out of control. But they made these organizations to do their bidding, but then they go left on them, and then the shit goes south, right? So, but these are the Amer Nazi and the Zion Nazi, right? You see the Amer Nazi swearing allegiance in lockstep to what? The Zion Nazi, which is the Revelation 2:9, the synagogue of Satan. So in line, you see that the Nazis are Satanists. A Nazi by definition and by its nature is a satanic creature. You see? It has to be. Why? Because the Bible says so. Revelations 2:9. If you're part of the synagogue of Satan, you swear allegiance to them, then you by association will be considered part of the synagogue of Satan and a Satanist. So we see that the Nazi is a Satanist, right? And then you also have to understand that Nazi has nothing to do. They say, well, a Jewish person can't be a Nazi. That's a lie. Why? Because Nazi is a social, economic, political organization. It has nothing to do with your religion. And Nazi also has a white, racist, fascist designation as well. If the people you look on your screen are all fascists, white supremacists, Nazis. This was written about by Alan Watts in 1970. So this is not my theory. This came from Alan W. Watts, philosopher, writer of 26 books, who kind of put me up on game, right? And he predicted this in 1960. He predicted this, right? That this was what was happening or had happened, right? And so now what you have is, and it's based on, what's called Judeo-Christianity. The Judeo-Christianity is a white, racist, Nazi, fascist cult group. Let me say that again. Judeo, Zio-Nazis, Israel, Christianity, Christian being the white, evangelical, white Christian, black Christians, whatever, right? Is a white supremacist-led Nazi, fascist, corporate, governmental, right, agency, cult group. You see? You have to swear allegiance. What are these people doing? They swear an allegiance to a foreign country, Israel, and to not only to them, but to an apartheid state, Israel, who is racist by definition, committing a genocide in front of the eyes of the whole world, right? But they swear allegiance to that. They support that 120%, right? I'm going somewhere with this. Walk with me, right? You have to understand like what I'm gonna say next. So I had to break this down for you so that you understand what I'm gonna say at the end, which I already kind of said. If you look at the video in the beginning, you see where they're going with this, right? Where now you have the government of Israel. Let me just get to the point. The government of Israel is now putting out statements through their agencies in the United States, the ADL, the guy Jonathan Greenblatt, through the professors that work for them that are at these college campuses. They train, the IDF trains the New York City Police Department and all the police departments in the United States who they're sending into these campuses, right? But now, what are they calling for, right? Because these high-profile protests, what are they calling for? They're calling to label anybody that disagrees with them terrorists, right? Now we're on a very slippery slope, right? Now we're on a very slippery slope where you have the government of Israel and all of their agents in the government, and you see these people in the United States government, like the people on your screen, who swear allegiance. I mean, I'm not making them do this. They're doing this themselves. I'm just playing a video. You can watch it for you. You can see what they're doing. It's not like I'm making it up and lying on them. I'm just talking about what they're doing in public, on your TV. Right? They're putting out statements on Twitter. They're on TV. Everybody, this is all public, so it's not like it's a secret, like I'm revealing like secret information. This is on ABC, NBC, on the internet, right? They're coming out swearing allegiance to a country that's calling the leadership of your country, and their leadership is now starting to call for military to be sent in to protest, to shut them down. The military and the police, and to label anybody that disagrees a terrorist and a terrorist actor. So that means, what do you do with terrorists? Well, you have to kill or capture them. Total Nazi takeover. Total Nazi crackdown, right? Total Nazi threat down. And so that's where we at with it, right? Where you got, you know, let's just get to it. Let's just get to the bottom line. Let's cut to the chase, as they say, right? Now I'm just playing what's on your screen, right? I'm not making them say this. I'm not making it up. I'm not lying on them. I didn't edit the video. You have the state of Israel who is committing a racist, Nazi, fascist genocide against indigenous people, where they went in 1948 and terrorized people, committed atrocities and took the land and colonized the land, right? And by definition of every civil rights group is running an apartheid state, you have your politicians in lockstep with them, saying we swear all our allegiance to them, no matter what. While they commit now, fast forward, a genocide, and then they call for military and police, right, to label people in the United States that don't agree with them, who want to protest and disagree. Well, you gotta be labeled a terrorist, and you gotta be dealt with like a terrorist. I mean, how do you deal with terrorists? I think Obama was drone striking. He drone struck a 16-year-old whose father was labeled a terrorist. Your boy Obama, that's right. Alawaki from Denver, Colorado. Him and another 8-year-old boy had went to visit, after they drone struck and killed his father, he went to visit his grandparents in Yemen, and Obama signed a death warrant to have them drone strike his 16-year-old son and an 8-year-old boy who were walking together. Now, so this is what happens when you get labeled a terrorist. Not only do they kill you, they kill your children, your whole family, neighbors, everybody. This is what Nazis like Obama do. Obama's a Nazi. He's just a black Nazi. You see, an immigrant, mulatto, black Nazi. You see? They come in different flavors, and you have to be able to identify him, and therefore he is also a Satanist, right? Satanic, wicked, black Nazi who works for the Synagogue of Satan. See, the Synagogue of Satan doesn't matter what color you are. It only matters that you have pledged your allegiance. You see? It don't matter what color, it just matters whether you pledge allegiance to Satan and to the Nazi cabal that runs the planet. The satanic cabal, Nazi cabal that runs the planet, which is a fascist group by nature. Nazi means fascist. It doesn't mean socialist. I already explained that. It just means fascist, racist, white supremacists. You see? And it's a corporate government structure. These are fascists. These are Nazis. These are white supremacists. Call it, you know, it all falls under the same umbrella. That's what it means. You see? And it acts just like what it says it is, if you understand. Like I said, when you look at Obama, it doesn't matter if you Jewish, or if you black, white, Indian, like Kamala Harris, right? All it matters is that you have sworn your allegiance to Satan and to the Synagogue of Satan, like these people. You have to swear allegiance to the Synagogue of Satan. And what they're saying now is, if you don't swear allegiance to them, this is where we now, let's get right into it. Let's just lay it all out. Where they're going now is, right? And if you notice, I have a track record for being right. Go look at all my videos. When I told you the protest wasn't going to change anything, it was just going to get worse, I was right. And I told you the government was going to support it, everything, etc. I was right about everything I said. And I'm right about this. Matter of fact, I predicted this. You go back, I've been saying this. The shit I'm saying now, I've been saying for years, even on my old channel before they took that one down. And they're about to take this one down. But check out my BitChute channel. That'll stay up. Black Bodhisattva Bands, right? I'll keep rocking. I'll keep putting up channels on YouTube. But so where are we at now? So now we're about to cross the precipice where you have the Israeli government, the head of the tip of the spear of Satan, and its allies. You know, it's all one unit. It's the Amur Nazi and the Zion Nazi, right? Now pushing to totally consolidate, right, under its capital, Tel Aviv, not Washington, D.C., right? And bring in the Antichrist leadership and then crack down, right, on any type of, you know, resistance, right? And label, and they going all out. They saying, listen, I mean, because this is a government website where they put, Israeli government website. These are your politicians. I mean, everybody has been seeing the politicians bring in and fire the heads of colleges to try to bring the colleges and different organizations in line. You've been on your job, you know what I'm saying, where they probably putting up Israeli flags on your job. I seen Israeli flags on the highways with American flag, all this bullshit everywhere, on the fronts of buildings at your jobs. They got Israeli, I got a job I was going to, people in there, they putting up Israeli flags. They not saying nothing. So where are they going with this? It's a total Nazi takeover, right? Where anybody, like he said, like the man said, not me, this is not me saying it. This is the Israeli government saying it. This is these politicians saying it. I'm just saying, I'm regurgitating what they're saying. I'm not repackaging it. I'm just repeating it. I'm watching it and just talking about it. Don't get mad at me. They're saying we want all these people, anybody that disagree with us, labeled a terrorist. We want anybody that speak out against us labeled a terrorist. We want, you know, so you see the connections here. You think the Negroes is scared on their job now? I work with scared Negro. I get tired of, niggas make me sick. I get tired of hearing them, you know, say scared shit like, hey man, I'm just trying to make it till Friday. You know, I'm just trying to keep my job. I'm just trying to keep my job, man. You know, you think you scared now. That's nothing compared to how it's getting ready to be, what's unfolding. But you got people saying, you gotta agree with me. I better not think you disagree, or I'm gonna label you a terrorist. And if you labeled a terrorist, well, you could end up like Al-Awlaki or his son. You could end up, you know, drone struck. Right? You can end up in prison or drone struck because you won't agree with me. Just because I won't agree with you, I don't agree with you stealing these people's land or genocide, or, you know, I don't agree with, you know, Nazis and racism against indigenous people or whatever. I don't like fascists or whatever. You disagree with any of this, you will be labeled a terrorist, right? And subject to, you know, the same thing that terrorists get, I guess, right? Like the man said, we need to send in the military. Jonathan Greenblatt from the ADO. I'm just repeating what they're saying. And I'm just talking about what they're doing. What has been done, not what's going to happen. Like, all this shit I'm saying, like Al-Awlaki, that's done by Obama. That was done 10 years ago. This is already happening. You got the man Jonathan Greenblatt standing up in front of the college campus calling for the military to be sent in and the militarized police to come harder, for everybody to be fired from their jobs if they don't implement a harsh crackdown of any dissent. You must be labeled a terrorist, right? That's scary shit. This is a dystopian nightmare that has unfolded and fell upon us, right? Anyway, I ain't gonna make this too long, man. I'm gonna hop up off here. Let me get the fuck off here. This is ridiculous. I mean, you know, I can't believe what, you know, you wake up every day to some more bullshit. To these people calling for a total Nazi crackdown and a labeling of all dissent terrorists. And I would say wake up, but it's too late for that. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Like, this guy play itself out. Because people, you don't believe shit stink, you know what I mean? So it gotta play itself out. People got, not just Al-Awlaki and his son, but a lot of Americans got suffer more at the hands of these people, at these Nazis. You have to suffer Jacob's trouble. You have to suffer at the hands of the hands of the Nazi. I mean, even though black people, they've been suffering for 500 years at the hands of these Nazis. But for some reason, they ain't had enough yet. That's why the Bible says 2/3 of my people shall die and be cut off. Why? Because they're going to try to get in bed with the Nazis. And the Lord of hosts ain't having it. He ain't dealing with no Nazi lovers. He ain't dealing with none of that shit like, hey man, sorry about that. That whole Nazi thing. I was just playing around. I wasn't really with those guys. I was scared. So I just went along with them. I was scared. I was scared for my children. No, you weren't. You're just a coward. I was scared for my children or something, you know, whatever, you know. Sorry about all that Nazi stuff. Let's end with the scripture. Stand by. Let's end on the scripture. Hebrews 10:26-7. For if we sin willfully after we have received the knowledge of the truth, I just gave y'all the knowledge of the truth, there remain no more sacrifice for sin. You cannot sacrifice for sin, but a certain fearful look shall be in your eyes at the time of judgment, and a fiery indignation which shall devour the adversary. Do you understand? See, what I'm doing is, I'm giving people the knowledge of the truth. You see? So, they can't say, nobody watches this, but it's out there, you see? As a witness, like the Bible said, the two witnesses. So as a witness, I'm witnessing that the truth has been given to the people. If the Lord of hosts asks me, did you witness to your family and your children? I said, yes, Lord. As a humble servant, I witnessed and I gave them the truth. You see? But they sinned against you willfully, even after I told them. They wouldn't listen. They said I was crazy, I was wrong, right? That I was stupid, that I was unfaithful, etc., etc., etc. You see? But I gave them the knowledge and the truth. So, as he said, so it doesn't matter. He said, okay, cool, that's all I need to know. Somebody told him. The knowledge was out there for the world to receive, you see? And I gave you a hell of a breakdown. So you can't say I'm confused about how it was working, right? I broke that shit down to the bone gristle for a 5-year-old can understand it, you see? So as it says, for if we sin, what does sin mean? You violate the laws of the Lord of hosts, you see? For if we willfully sin willfully after we have received the knowledge of the truth. I gave you the knowledge of the truth, not just me. The knowledge of the truth is everywhere. But as a witness, I know that it's everywhere. And I know that the people refuse the truth, you see? They said, nah, I'd rather rock with the Synagogue of Satan, because they got the juice right now. Fuck you, nigga. I got you. They short timers though, see? But there remain no more sacrifice for sin, but a certain fearful look for of judgment and fiery indignation which shall devour you as an adversary. See, the adversary, the satanic Nazi, is the adversary of the Most High, is the adversary of the Lord of hosts. He's going to say alien invasion or something, right? And you're going to say, oh, you're going to jump in line. That's right, alien invasion. And you're going to try to fight the Lord of hosts and his armies along with the, and you're just another Nazi at that point. You see? You're just part of the synagogue of Satan and another satanic Nazi fascist. You see? Who knew the truth, but was a coward and wouldn't accept the truth. Who was ignorant and tried to ignore the truth and was weak. You see? I understand, I've been weak at times. I done got weak. I understand weakness in the spirit, right? But there's no more sacrifice for you at this point. Just the time of repentance is over with. There's no more sacrifice for your sins. I'm announcing that. That this is a time of judgment, you see. There's, the time for sacrificing your sin is over with. Just know this. It's a wrap, as they say, right? Now, what should you expect? You should expect a fearful look gonna be in your eyes soon, in the eyes of the people. They're gonna have a fearful look. Right now they arrogant, right? Benjamin Netanyahu, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, all kinds of people, right? We stand with Israel, right? They coming up, you know, all these people. We stand with Israel. We're sending billions of dollars of weapons of support. Blah, 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 right? Right, you got all these people, they very arrogant, forceful, right? Talking loud, ain't saying nothing. But what does Hebrews say? All that shall remain in them is no more sacrifice of sin, but they're going to have a fearful look in their eye at the time of judgment, right? And the Lord shall have a fiery indignation for them. They're going to burn up in the lake of fire. You see? And he shall devour all the adversaries of the Most High God. You see? That's why it says 2/3 shall die and be cut off. You see? It's true. The prophecies are true, right? And here it is in Hebrews, right? So all the people that is willfully decide to take the mark of the beast, right? And decided to swear allegiance to, you know, Obama or Joe Biden, or you swore allegiance, you got an Israeli flag, American flag, you swore allegiance to all this shit that's right out of the synagogue of Satan. The Lord has a fiery indignation coming for you. You're going to have a fearful look in your eyes soon. Not from the Nazi, fear of the Nazi, something much worse, as I said in the last talk I gave on this. Something much worse than them is coming. Thanos is coming, right? As he said in the Avengers, right? Something much worse is coming. Worse than the Nazi. Worse than any of that. Right? You should, something that you should fear more than them. But they told you it wasn't real, so you fear them more than anything. You think they're more important, their word stands, their law, whatever, right? Hey, I don't want them calling me a terrorist. I'm gonna have to agree with them, line up with them, get me some flags, put all over my car, right? Do whatever they tell me to do, right? But the one that you should fear is going to show up soon with a fiery indignation for you, right? And you're going to have a fearful look in your eye. They're going to all have a fearful look in their eye. Why? Because he's going to hit them so hard and so fast that they're going to, you know, they're going to be astonished. Like, this can't be happening. What about our nukes? They're not working. But what happened? cities are gone. They wiped out all the bases. Even the ones in the ocean, yeah, they all gone. What about the one on the moon? They hit that too. God damn it. What about the one on Mars? They hit that one too, sir. Oh shit. Yeah. It's happening. Yeah, it is. It's happening now. Right? You look up, cities on fire, blue-green lasers. Boom, 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 boom. Hitting the cities, right? Whole cities wiped out. Communications, all your satellites down, cut off. Sir, they took out all the satellites. All of them? Yes. Shit. It's really happening. Yep. What are those ships in the sky? Oh my God. Will be their last words. You see? I'm telling you, it's coming. You see? And the last thing they're going to see is judgment and a fearful look as the fiery indignation of the Lord of hosts hits them. You see? He's not going to shoot like Iran. It's not going to be no warning. They're not going to shoot 300 drones and tell you in 72 hours we're going to fire drones and, you know, you better cut it out and all that. That's not what's going to happen. It said the Lord shall come like a thief in the night. And it's going to happen at night. I had a dream. It's going to happen at night. Matter of fact. So it's funny it says that. It's going to be at night when they come. Right? Anyway. So, yeah, there's no more sacrifice for sin. A lot of people, you had your chance to turn around, but you didn't. So, that's all I got.